All right, everybody. So we are here today and we are going to be practicing using the element of line. We're going to be practicing things like line control and focus and building up focus. So we have here what I call the point and line exercise. And so this right here is just a sample. It's in progress. It's not complete, but I want to show you a demonstration of how to get this exercise started. So you're going to go ahead and start with your sketchbook, with your paper in landscape orientation. So my paper is going to be going left to right. It's a long ways here. And you're also going to need to start with a permanent marker. Okay, I have here an ultra fine tip, so it has really, really fine lines to be able to get a lot more detail. But we're using a permanent marker on this exercise today because we will be using permanent marker for our first big project in the class. So we want to get as much practice in on these exercises to help you work on the material, to help you gain some experience with the medium before we actually go on to that big first project and creating that final draft. We want to work out all the bugs in these exercises so you really get familiar and start to master using the permanent marker. So what you're going to do is you're going to start over here on the center on the left-hand side, and we're going to start by drawing a nice curvy line that goes all the way from left to the right-hand side and one nice smooth motion. Okay? So I just drew one nice smooth curvy line all the way from left to right on my page. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to start a second line by going right underneath that first line. Okay? And I'm going to basically retrace the direction and the movement of that first line. I want to keep my lines as close as I possibly can to each other. Okay, they can touch. That's okay. We're actually going to be touching a lot. The lines will be touching a lot in certain areas on this drawing. But I want to try to make my line nice and smooth and have nice flow. So if that means I have to lift up my pen, that's fine. On this second line, you're not going to have one smooth motion like you could on that first one. So you might have to pick up your pen, change the direction of your wrist or the paper, but you want to have one nice smooth line that's retracing the direction of the first line, keeping it as close as possible to that first line as you possibly can. It can touch, that's okay. Retracing it all the way from left to right. So we don't want this second line to be all rough and sketchy, scratchy feeling. One nice smooth motion all the way across, keeping it as close as possible to that first line. Now you see that there's some areas where the line, the ink is blotting because I hold it too tight or too long on the paper. I'm not have a smooth transition after I pick it up. So those are some things I might work on. At first, your line might be really rough and really shaky and wobbly, and that's okay too. Okay, that's why we are doing this exercise, because we are trying to build line control. So after I've drawn that second line, I'm going to go down and I'm going to retrace it again. I'm going to go underneath that line and retrace the direction of that first and second line. So like I was saying, we're in this exercise, the objective is to really start to gain line control, to really build up our fine motor skills. Line control is really important because all those sketchy lines are nice when we're doing sketching or, rough drafts, or when we're doing gesture drawing. But when we're really working on our final project, we want to have nice, clean, crisp lines. It adds to good craftsmanship of our projects, and it just makes it look really nice and pristine. So we're working on really trying to get nice, smooth motions, nice, clean line work. Also, what we're working on, by gaining this line control is developing our fine motor skills and trying to improve being able to pen to do really what we want it to do. So I'm retracing that next step, going as close as possible to that, second line. So I want to get closer than that. I made a mistake, but that's okay. because hopefully as we go through this assignment, I'm able to really control and gain that control that I might not initially have in this exercise. Keeping the lines nice and close together, having nice smooth lines, smooth motion. So after I've done that, I am going to redraw it again, staying as close as I possibly can to the first line or those, previous lines, in some cases touching. Okay, nice clean line work. So I know a lot of you are like, oh my goodness, again, another line. Yep. This whole exercise is going to, we're going to fill up this entire page with these curved lines. So what this exercise is doing, besides improving your fine motor skills and helping you build line control, is it's also developing your endurance. Your endurance to focus on a project for long periods of time. In this course, we're going to be working on our major projects for 2, 3, 4, 6 weeks at a time. So we want to be able to develop our ability to focus on working on something for a long period of time. Because beautiful drawings and beautiful paintings don't always occur in a 50-minute class period. So we will be working on them for long periods of time and working on them little by little. So you want to really work on being able to focus on the task at hand and to be able to focus on working on something without getting bored or losing interest. And it takes time to develop. So we're working on building our endurance to be able to focus on doing an assignment for a long period of time that seems repetitive. Now, something you'll notice is that the lines are starting to collide together. See how they're starting to come together? So how do we do that? And I'm going to show you right now how I want you to approach it. So I'm going to take another line, go underneath that last one, retrace the previous line, staying as close as I possibly can, making a nice smooth line. Now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to keep going on top of it. I'm going to retrace right on top of those lines that are coming together. Go in and I'm going to start to fill in the interior of this hoop. Come in, retrace as close as I can, come on top, fill in this loop right here, staying right on top of each other. Retracing it, come back around, lift up my pen when I need to change the direction of my wrist, stay on top of the lines here. It's already filled in, so I'm going to kind of bounce in and bounce back out until I fill in this interior. So there shouldn't be any big, huge spaces of white. The entire page, top and bottom, is going to be filled with these lines. Come back in, trace right on top of these, overlap them, come back around, pick up my pen where I need to change my wrist in the direction, overlap right on top, nice and smooth. It's already filled in, that hoop's already filled in, so kind of bounce out, bounce back in, go on top of that line, fill the interior here, bounce it back in, come out, come in. Oh, that one's already filled in, so I'm going to bounce back out, staying as close to that previous line as I possibly can. Go in here, right on top. So when it's getting darker and darker and darker, it's really going to add some nice depth and dimension to this line drawing. Come back in, fill it in, pop back out. My wrist's starting to hurt, so I'm going to do some art exercises, flip my wrist, stretch my fingers back when I start to get clenched up, retrace out, come in here, retrace the interior, bounce back out. Okay, so I'm going to continue to do this process until the entire paper is filled in with these curved lines. Come in here, bounce in, bounce back out, bounce in, bounce out, come back in, retrace right over the top of that. Oh, that hoop's filled in, so I'm going to go in, continue in this one, fill in this one, staying as close as I can. In some cases touching, overlap that one right here. Come back in, bounce out, bounce in, bounce out. making sure my lines are nice and smooth, controlled, staying as close as I possibly can to the first ones, nice and tight, close together. Until I fill in the entire bottom and the entire top. So once I'm finished filling in the top, I can go in on the top. Filling in the bottom, I can go into the top of the page and fill the top of the page as well. So that is how you start to do the point and line exercise. Well, thank you for tuning in.